Hello there. Welcome to Craft Therapy. Now we have been working on a project involving these lovely colors, the Jamaican colors. And you would have seen a video with a design that I posted for a Jamaican Flag Crocheted Coaster. And I did say in that video that, the ideas were coming in terms of options. So we have 2 more options ahead of us. For this week's video, I am going to be using the same granny square motif that I used in the last video. So I have already done these off camera. And remember, I did say that I feel as if the gold diagonal was a little bit too broad, and so I was going to come with another option. So this is option 2. So I will bring you back when I am ready to put on the gold and show you what I'm doing. So see you in a few. And we're back. Can I make a confession? I have spent so many hours off camera trying my best to figure out a good option of joining these motifs, and without having to cut my yellow thread, and it's just not working out the way I want to. So I've resorted to doing this. Because it's not a case where I want the yellow all the way around it, I want it on only 2 sides. I'm going to do just 2 sides of it in terms of, do you remember when we were changing colors on the blouse? And with changing colors, we basically kept the design going. That's what I'm going to be doing on these 2 sides, right? Now, I have to be careful not to end up with what I had in that first design, because what I'm trying to avoid is the diagonal being too wide. And with what I did before I came back on camera, I think 2 rows of stitches is fine, not 3. Right? It gave me the look that I was going for. But what I didn't want is to have all of these tails to deal with afterwards. But unfortunately, I am going to have to just grin and bear it and deal with the tails, right? So I'm going to be just doing 2 of the 4 sides of each of the motifs. And then we're going to join them manually. It's not like I'm using a machine, right? I'm going to join them. So what I'm doing now is just your basic granny square pattern, your basic granny square design. You have several, and I'm sure if you are into crocheting and into granny squares, you would have by now discovered that there are several granny square patterns. Gosh, my birds are loud. You hear them? They're loud out there, man. There are several granny square patterns that you can have. This one where you have the cluster, single cluster, chain cluster, that's not the only pattern that you have out there. So if you're so inclined, do your research, your YouTube search, and see what patterns and designs you have available to you that you can utilize for any projects that you might have that you think it would be kind of cute to use. So we're just going to do the last one and cut it off, right? So as I said, I was trying to avoid all of these fandango dangles hanging off, but unfortunately it just was not working with me in terms of the joining that I was trying to do. So that's how it looks, right? So off camera I did the other 3 already. So what we're now going to do is join them. So essentially, this is how we need them to be sitting. All right? This is how we need them to be sitting to get the look that we want. Okay? So you see it coming together already. Well, ish. So what I'm going to be doing is basically taking these two and turning front to front. So I'm going to end up with the back facing out and the fronts facing in, front to front. And I'm just going to use a, where's my thread at? Oh, I'm just going to be using a slip stitch to join them all along the back. Alright, so slip knot on my hook. Going to go, and here it gets to where I need to bring you closer. Let's get you in closer. So you can see what I am doing. Let's move this out of the way so that my background, my foreground can be focused. Alright, so find the top of that first stitch right there, push through the top of the stitch on the other square, push through. And I like to go through both loops because I think when you go through one loop sometimes it ends up kind of stretching it out a bit. So I try to go through both loops. Let me bring my thread around a bit and I'm going to pull through. So I'm trying, you see all of those tails, I'm going to have to fix them afterwards. And I pull through and pull through, complete the slip knot and pull through. There we go, right? So that's how we're going to do it. Just keep going through from the front, push through, find its counterpart on the back one, push through, pull through, pull through, slip knot, slip stitch, not knot. Let's do this one. Go through that stitch, go through this stitch, pull through them all. And we're at the space. With the space, I don't go through the chain, I just go under it, pull through. There we go. And then we are back at another cluster. So this is a very easy method of joining without it giving any more space than what I need. So it's just to take your time and keep going back and forth. Alright? So that's how it's kind of looking. So I will bring you back when I have finished doing the joining of this one. So we can, well, I'm going to join the other pair as well, and then I'll bring you back when I'm going to be joining this pair to the other pair. Alright, so see you in a few. Be right back. Alright, so here we are with this joining. I have a few thoughts, but I will reserve those until the end of the video when I tell you how I feel about this particular design. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is put on a border, you know, grab all of these loose ends and put on a little decorative border using all three colors. I may go with the same thing that I did on this one, which is gold, then green, then black. So I'm going to do the same thing, gold, green, black on the border, and I'll bring you right back after that. Alright, so let's put on a border. If you hear some disturbance in the background, we've been having a bit of rain here in Jamaica. We've been watching that system for a couple of days now with Mr. Weatherman, and today has been pretty rainy. Yesterday was overcast, but today is rainy, and I don't mind. I'm a pluviophile. Love, love, love the rain. So if you hear that, that's the rain in my background. I've had to bring in my desk light a little bit closer because I can't open the windows, and if I do, there's no light, as in sunlight outside anyway, to give me any light. Anyway, let's go. So I don't have a pattern or a design or a border idea, so to speak. What I'm going to be doing is going to my go-to border, not the spider border that I did on the last two projects, but my go-to border is like a little bit of a frill, right? So I'm going to be, since I'm using 3 colors, the frill involves double crochet stitches usually, and what it also involves is like an increase in each of the stitches. So what I'm going to do though is put on a single border of single crochet stitches and then 2 double crochet. So what I'm going to do is, in putting on the single crochet, I'm not going to be doing the increase with the single crochet, but I'll do the increase with the double crochet. So let's just start the single crochet stitches, just to remind you what you do for a single crochet stitch. So I had a slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to connect it with a slip stitch, and going into each, at the top of each stitch, a single crochet stitch is just to push through, pull up, pull through both. Alright, got that? Let's bring you a little closer. Let's do that again. So we find the top and we go through both loops, okay? Push through. So you see both loops are right there underneath my hook. Pull through. So now I have the 2 yellow hoops on. Yarn over. Pull through 2. Let's do that one more time. Push through both. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. At the space, I like to go in the space, not in the stitch. So I just go under, pull up, pull through both. Back at another cluster, I just go through, pull through, pull through. That's a lot of through right there, right? But it's a pretty simple stitch, and you already see how much neater it's making the work, right? So I want to take you to the joining so that we can figure it out together. As I said, I'm not using an idea as in from YouTube or anything. I'm just going based on instincts with, you know, what I know and what I think will work for me for this project. So let us take a look at how we're going to navigate the joining. So there's a space at the end of the last cluster, which is your corner basically. So I'm just going to put 1 single crochet there, and now I have this big space to jump. And what is happening is that on each side what I have is a double crochet stitch. So I now need to figure out how I'm going to jump over. So if one double crochet stitch is equivalent to 3 chains, what I usually do when I used to make bags and pouches and I would have to be going sideways like this, I go under the stitch itself, pull up my thread, yarn over, pull over, and I do that 3 times on the one stitch. But on the first 2 I go in the bottom part of the stitch, so to speak, right? I don't know if you understand. So if I have if this is my stitch, my double crochet, this part, this bottom part here, I put 2 stitches there. So I'm going to put the second stitch there now. So you just have to eyeball it and fiddle it out, find your way. So that's my second single crochet in that double crochet stitch. And then in the top of the stitch itself, right, where I normally have the loops, that's where I'm going to put my third single crochet. It's a little bit hard to find, so just take your time and find a spot that looks like it is what it is. And if you're pushing through and it's not going through, chances are then you're in the wrong spot. So just keep trying. I don't like that spot. That spot looks finicky. I think this is where it is. I think this is where it is. There you go. So we just push through, pull up, yarn over, pull through. Now we have the joining, right? Like the middle section where I joined the 2 sides. So I'm just going to eyeball it and find a spot in between and do my single crochet stitch. And now I'm back at the other side for the other set of double crochet stitches. I'm gonna do the reverse this time. So this time I'm starting from the top of my double crochet stitch. So I find that little spot, push through, pull up, yarn over, pull through. And you see my tails are coming up, so I'm just going to naturally weave them in as per usual. So you see that this one has opened up a little bit, so it's a little bit easier for us to find the spot where we're going to be putting it, right? So we're going to put 2 double crochet stitches in that spot. So push through, pull up, yarn over, pull through, 1 more, push through, pull up, yarn over, pull through. Now we're back at the corner and there's a space here. We're not going into the cluster stitch yet. We have a space here. So we put 1 more single crochet right there, yarn over, pull through. And let's take a look at how it is looking so far. It's a little bit wonky, but trust me when I say that when I put in the double crochet stitches on top, it's not going to be that noticeable, right? But it's looking a little bit neater, isn't it? So I'm going to do that all the way around. One thing to note though is when you get to the corner here, or maybe I should just do it up to the corner and show you. Let's just do it up to the corner and show you, since the sides are not that difficult, right? So while I work on this, how are you? What's going on in your neck of the woods? What are you doing in terms of crafting? Keeping those fingers busy, I hope, so that your mind can be at peace. The world is so busy. You know, you just keep going. You do need to stop every now and then and smell the roses. And I think hobbies for some persons are becoming like a dying art form because we're so busy, we're so overwhelmed with work, overwhelmed with, for those who are inclined to go back to school and do some continuing studies, overwhelmed with family if you have children, overwhelmed with just the cares of life, generally speaking. You know, things pop up, life happens. But it's all good and well to just stop a little bit every now and then and take a deep breath and look around and enjoy life. When was the last time you looked up at the sky, the night sky, and admired the stars, admired the moon? When was the last time? Think about it. So we're at the end right here. So let's figure out the corner. In the corner we have 2 chains. So I'm going to be putting 1. Let me see how 2 looks in the initial thing. 2. I think I'm going to put 1 more. So in the corner we would put 3 single crochet stitches, just because you're going to end up with 1 on one side, 1 on the other, and that 3rd one in the middle, just to kind of go around the corner, so to speak. And then you come back into your double crochet and you keep doing the same thing. So I'll meet you when I get to the end of this single crochet row and show you how I'm going to be putting on my double crochet frill. See, I'm still using my leftover motifs. Waste not, want not. I'm not wasting my thread. So see you when I get to the end. Alright, so we're almost at the end. So I'm done with the last cluster. And because I started in a corner with 1 single crochet rather, and I've been putting 3 in each corner, I'm going to be putting 2 and then fastening it off, of course, with a slip stitch. So that's 1, 2, and for this now I gotta find that space. I'm ignoring my phone. I know exactly who that is. She knows herself as well when she watches this video. And slip stitch is pulling through both. And I will maybe do just a little single chain just to fasten it off a little bit better. And snippety snip. Alright? So that's the end of this. And that's how we are looking with our row of single crochet stitches. The Jamaican flag would be turned this way, of course. Again, I'll tell you how I feel about this when I'm finished with it. So now we're going to put on our double crochet border. I'm trying to figure out where should I think I'll start at a corner where I don't have any threads hanging out. So that way when I'm going around I can always weave these in. So I'm going to start at this corner here. So I'm going to start right here. Alright, so green is what we're putting on next. As usual, we start with a slip knot on the hook. I'm watching my hook, because it feels a little bit lean and I'm dreading, having to change it because I still haven't gotten around to getting a hook with the handle on it. So note to self, I need to do that next week when I go on the road. Alright, so how we're going to do this now is, this is the cluster. Are you seeing me? Alright, that looks like you can see me a little bit better. So this is the cluster, right? This is the first single crochet before that cluster. I push through both loops and I'm going to be putting a slip stitch to connect my thread. Let me get this tail behind so that it's a little bit easier to work in when we get around there. So we pull through and you hold it carefully and pull through. So you have just that one loop on your hook, right? And to start our double crochet, we chain up 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now here's where it gets interesting, because of the frill effect that we want it to have. We're going to be putting multiple double crochets into each of these stitches. So let's start with the same one that we started with. So we yarn over, push through in the same spot, pull through, you have your 3 loops on, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we put a third one, yes, a third one in the same spot. So we yarn over, push through, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's the beginning of our frill. So let's do a couple. Yarn over, we're now at the first stitch in the cluster. Push through both loops, no front or back loop, push under both loops. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 in the same spot. We push through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, same spot, push through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to finish up to about here so you can begin to see the frilling effect of it, okay? So that was just the first, so we're now going into the second one. And now you see why it would have made sense to put on our single crochet row so that we can see exactly where we're putting these double crochet stitches, right? Makes it a little bit easier in terms of seeing what we're working with, and of course giving it a neater finish as well. So I'm now on the third of that same cluster. So it's going to take a little bit more time because you're literally doing 3 stitches in one, so it's going to take you about 3 times the amount of time that you would have taken if you were just putting 1 stitch per stitch, you get me? So it's just a matter of patience and getting that done. But trust me when I say that it gives it a nice little frilly frill when you are finished with it. You can already kind of see it puckering a bit in terms of pulling in on itself, and that is what gives you the frill. And I always find that 1 row is not frilly enough. At least 2 rows, but you know, sometimes 3, maybe even 4, depending on how frilly you want what you're doing to be. But I have found, especially when I was doing like pouches and when I used to do barefoot sandals and I put a little border on, I find that at least 2 frills, 2 rows gives me a good enough frill, right? So that's 3 in that one. Let's do this one, and then I'm gonna pause a bit and have a look when we're finished with this cluster, and for you to begin to see how it's frilling up. All right, last one before we examine, and notice that, you know, all that we're putting in is our double crochet. I think double crochet is one of the most versatile stitches ever. It's used majority of the time. It and chains are what you use majority of the time in a wide range of crochet patterns. So you see what's happening there? See the frill beginning to form? And that's how I want it. So I'm going to go all the way around and meet you back here to show you how I join the end of our frill, and then we'll put on our black and that will be it. So I'll meet you back here to join and finish off this row. So see you in a bit. I am literally at the last single crochet stitch right there that I'm going to put my 3 into and join it. So 1, 2, 3. And to join it, it's just a slip stitch. So I find the 3rd chain. Remember, we started our row with 3 chains to act as our first double crochet. I just find the 3rd chain, insert, pull through, and pull through completely, and there we have it. That's done. Now I'm going to be putting on a black row. I could start the black row in the same spot, or I could start it somewhere else. I think I'll start it in the same spot. But this is what it's looking like, right? Again, I will reserve my comments until I am finished. But that's what it's looking like. You can see the frilly frill, right? So I'm going to get the black row started. Now, I could do the knot that I told you about in terms of changing colors, but I don't think I want to go through all of that. So I'm simply going to... What's going on here? Are you knotted? How did you get knotted? I'm simply going to... Yeah, you're knotted. You are knotted. How come? Is this a sign that I don't need to put the black here? I can join it somewhere else. Let's see what's going on. I want to get this out. Get this back out. Ah, it's not coming out. What's going on? I think it's somehow knotted on itself in some way, form, or shape, and I'm not sure how. How come? All right, there we go. So, see, there's a knot. Can you see the knot? Anyway, we don't need that knot, so we're going to bypass it. So to get the black onto it, we are going to smooth you guys over. So we are going to, not you, you stay right here. How I normally do it is on the last part of the stitch. So the last part of this stitch will be when I'm pulling through for the slip stitch, right? So I push through my 3rd chain up there, get my other color, which is the black in this case, grab it as if I was grabbing the green, pull it through. Let's do that again. It slipped off. Push through my 3rd chain, grab my next color, and pull it all the way through. So it's on. So again, we would start with 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. Now for this row, we're not going to be putting 3 into each of those. We're just going to be putting 1. So we're going to be going back to our usual of putting 1 stitch into a stitch. We've already established our ruffle, so all we are doing now is lengthening the ruffle. So I'm just going to put 1 into each, and that's it. And it's a double crochet that we're using, so it's just to find each stitch. Again, I like to go through the 2 loops You know, you have some stitches that say back loop or front loop or whatever. No, I'm not about that life. This first one is always a little bit finicky to find, but once you find it, you're on your way with the rest of them, right? So you put your double crochets, one into each, going all the way around. Okay, let's find you. And trust me, the ruffle will be maintained. See, it's getting easier and smoother. The ruffle will be maintained. Something occurred to me when I was doing the green row. I won't say what it is just yet, so I'll wait until I'm done with this black row, and then I'll come back and we'll discuss that. Okay, so again, see you in a few. And just keep it going. Keep it going. This is our final double crochet. Let's get it in. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsie. You know, as per usual, it needs to act up when I turn on the camera, right? All the stitches went in perfectly until we got here. So let's take it slow. Nice and slow. There we go. And we find the third chain that we started with. Slip stitch. Just a little single chain to secure it. And we're done. Now let's talk about this one here. Let's get the focus going. Please forgive my poor lighting on that side. My desk lamp is over here. Alright, and I'm just too lazy to set up the ring light. It's night time now actually. Normally I'd get my sun from that side through the window, so it would kind of balance back with this light. So yeah, let's pull you out a little bit. Out a little bit. Get the focus. Alright, so what do we think about this one? My thoughts are my mission of getting the diagonal to be smaller has been accomplished. However, the border I think is a little bit distracting from the Jamaican flag look. And when I was putting on this border, I remembered why I hardly use it. It takes a lot of time. It's very pretty when it's done, and you know, it gives whatever you're doing a little nice finish, but it's time consuming. But as a coaster, what do we think about this design? My thoughts, the diagonal, I've gotten it to the size that I want it to be. Oh, this is what I was saying, that I was going to say something later on. I remember that usually when I do this frill border, I usually, to finish it off, put on a single crochet layer. But I don't think I'm going to do it for this. I don't think it needs it. And I would have done it in the yellow if this single crochet yellow was not so visible. Right? But as a coaster, what do we think? I think the diagonal could be a little bit thicker, so it's like the last one was too thick, this one is too thin. You know what I mean? So it's like the porridge, too hot, too cold, that sort of a thing. Also, it's not laying very flat, not because of the border, but I think because of what I did on the back. In terms of joining it on the back, the slip stitch joining on the back, it doesn't lay flat. So as a result, it's a little bit kicking up. But I mean, you know, if you put your glass on it or whatever you're putting on it, it should work. It's a little bit small, but I think it's just big enough for a glass. If I use this, the lens cap, as a sample, right, it's just big enough for a glass. The other thing is, again, because the flag has a diagonal, we would have to turn it in this orientation if we want to get the flag looking design coming out. So I have a third option in mind. I will go through my archives, visit a couple of designs that I'm thinking of to see if I can find a way to get it turned this way and have the diagonal coming this way, so it's a real Jamaican flag. But this is design 2. Let me turn it back. This is design 2. How does it look? How does it look? Yep. This is it. So thank you for joining me for this session, and I do hope that you enjoyed looking at the designs, and that if it's something that you want to try, that you found my tips helpful, that you found my video easy to follow with directions. But that's it for this craft therapy. So as per usual, keep those hands busy so that your mind will be at peace. Happy crafting.